What is up, YouTubers? Welcome back to Budget Cars and Bikes and another product review. Today we are going to be reviewing the brand new K8 from Kingbolen, the upgraded version of the K7, which we've already done a review on. So if you're interested in that, keep watching, we'll get into it. Alright then, beautiful people, welcome back to Budget Cars and Bikes. As I said, today we are going to take a quick look at the Kingbolen K8. This is the biggest box that we've had sent so far when it comes to scanners. I'm having to hold the phone way up here just to get it all into the frame, as it were. As you can see there, I mean, that is a very small looking fridge down there. That is a very large looking box up here. It is bloody enormous and it weighs an absolute ton. I have not opened this box yet. I have no clue what's inside, what to expect, the specs, anything. We are going to, as we always do on my channel, review this together. We're going to unbox it together, turn it on for the first time together, because I'd much rather do that with you guys so you know exactly what to expect when yours comes in the post, and then you can make your decision whether you want to buy one, whether you don't want to buy one, if you've got any questions, that kind of stuff. So I guess we better get the razor blade out or the knife and get this box open and see exactly what we do actually get inside this humongous box. So there is the main box, as it were, that we found inside the box from Amazon. As you can see, it is from Kingbolen. It is an automotive diagnostic tool, as we would expect. The box is a bit battered and bruised and not looking too new, I have to say, but yeah, well, obviously it's come from a warehouse somewhere. We've got to, again, try to get this box open. Now, there's nothing actually written on the box per se, apart from just some gump on the side, which is irrelevant. But there is literally nothing apart from what's in there. It just tells you it's a Kingbolen K8. The voltage, the ampage, that is about it. So what are we going to find inside here? Let's get it open. So, yet another box. As you can see, we've got the original Amazon box, the protective Kingbolen cardboard box, as it were, and the protective hard plastic case, as it were, with the usual little kind of clamps down here, which I have to say is already popped off. I'm hoping that's not going to be an issue, because that doesn't seem... Ah, there we are, that's better. I didn't expect that to be an issue, because this is Kingbolen, and they do obviously provide and create some incredible devices. We've reviewed so many things from Kingbolen and Topped On and all the other launch scanners, all that kind of stuff. What I'll do is I'll stick a playlist up in this top right hand corner. If you're interested in diagnostic scanners, check that playlist out. There is so much going on in there as well, from really cheap budget scanners to this, which is far from being a cheap scanner. So let's get to this box open together. I'm going to try and put you on the tripod, actually, guys. It might be a little bit better. Okay, well, I've tried to put you up as high as I can on the tripod, guys, because obviously, as you can see, this is a big old box. There's my hand. There you go, for comparison's sake. That is my hand against this box. It is bloody enormous. So let's get this open. So as you can see, inside here, very similar to the launch that we did a review on. I'll stick a link in the top right-hand corner here for that one there, because that was actually a high-end expensive scanner as well. Very similar. It's got these kind of little protective pockets in here. You just unlock these. Obviously, that is locked, and vice versa. And then you open this up. Inside here, I'll just keep that out of the way for a second, bear with me, there we go. Inside here is a basic bit of paper to show you what is inside the box, or what should be inside the box, and on the other side of here is your activation code, all that kind of stuff you will need to set it up. I'm not going to show you that, obviously, because that is specific to this scanner. So put that out of the way for a second. Anything else in here? Yep, there is our usual user guide, as you would expect from Kingbolen. Pretty concise, various languages, I'm assuming. Yep, all the usual stuff. It's more of a quick guide than a user manual per se, because I think what they expect is that when you're buying something at this kind of price point, you pretty much know how to use a scanner, and perhaps if you don't, maybe you should be looking at a cheaper one. Again, check the playlist at the beginning of this video. There are budget ones in there from 99 quid. This, obviously not 99 quid. We'll discuss the price in a second, but it ain't going to be cheap. But you get what you pay for, of course. Although, as I said, we have done budget ones which were remarkably good value for what they did. Anyway, I digress. We are talking about the K8 from Kingbolen. There is your user manual, or as I would call it, a quick start guide, really, in that respect. Put that down there. There are various little connector blocks here as well, adapters by the looks of things. I don't know what is going on with that, if I'm honest, but we will go through all that, I promise you. There is another connector block here as well, which again, I haven't gone through this, so I don't know exactly what these are for, but we will get into that and I will explain it to you. Oh, and guess what? Some more adapters as well. So I don't think you're ever going to find a car, or possibly even a motorbike, that you cannot connect this to by the looks of things. There is a host of adapters. Interesting. Some silica packets, as you would expect to see. We will get into this side of things as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some more adapters, but here it just looks like an OBD connector and a Type-C charging port or data transfer, or possibly both in that respect. That looks like a VGA connector and possibly another adapter there as well, because that looks like a VGA and that looks like an OBD, and that's the Type-C. But again, we will open these packets up, I promise. In here, it looks like we've got a 12-volt battery connector and adapter to VGA. That's interesting. Not seen that before, with obviously jack connectors at the other end. It's all very interesting. I've never seen quite so much gump inside one of these. Anyway, let's get over to here. There is your Bluetooth dongle, as it were. Oh, over here. There is your Bluetooth dongle, as you would expect to see, branded by eDiag, which is interesting. Kingbolen, that obviously fits straight into your OBD port on your car when you're ready to go and use the scanner, which we will delve into now. Put that to one side for a second. So the first package, let's have a little look underneath here. Please don't tell me it's more adapters. I don't think I can cope. Now that is interesting. I'm not quite sure what we get in there. I can only assume it looks like handles of some description. Ah, that could actually be for BMW, because I know that they use different connectors, BMW motorcycles do anyway. But again, we will put that to one side because I'm not 100% sure on that. And we will have a look, our first look, at the actual scanner itself. I'll tell you what I'll do, guys. I'll actually get this box out of the way so we can concentrate more on this scanner, like so, and we'll get that into the frame a little bit better. So there it is in all its glory. That is the Kingbolen K8. The first thing you will notice is it does have a little kind of bracket at the back end, so you can hang that over your steering wheel on your car as you're working. This is a weighty bit of kit, has to be said. That it's not going to be easy to carry around this. This is really, really far more for your professional mechanic or your mobile mechanic than it would be for a DIY at-home mechanic. I mean, this isn't something that I would necessarily buy in the respect that to use for my business. This is far more professional. This is kind of a competitor to Snap-on and that kind of stuff, and as I said, for the garage environment, home mechanics can obviously get stuff that is far more suited to them. This is not for your home mechanic. I think it would be far too complex to use. It looks like it does have a camera on the back as well. We'll go through the specs. What I might do is stick them up in the corner here in a second. So there's your handle. As I said, it's not a carry handle, but it is for slipping over the steering wheel, so you can use things a little bit easier without having to hold it, because as I said, this is a heavy old lump. Anyway, we will turn this on for the first time together. Hope that it's got some battery power. There we go. There's the Kingbolen logo. I would expect at this price point, this will just fire straight into life, because the processor on here should be equivalent to the price and obviously the spec of the unit itself. I would expect this to kick in within about 20 seconds, somewhere around about that kind of time frame, because the cheaper ones tend to take anything up to 30-40 seconds. But we have been in to 15 seconds so far, and it's still loading. I mean, obviously there's a lot of processing power, but there's a lot of processing apps that need to be fired up to get this thing going, especially for a first startup. I mean, if you've ever bought a mobile phone and you start it up for the first time, you'll know that you get this kind of startup affair here going up the first time, and the second time you turn it on, it's far quicker, obviously. So we are kind of semi in. It will ask us to set everything up. Obviously we need to go into English, Wi-Fi. It will ask me for the Wi-Fi setup, passcodes, all that kind of good stuff. I will do that, and then we will cut back in and we will go through this in far more detail. I'll explain to you what all the adapters and connectors do that we looked at when we did the unboxing just now, and then we will take it out to the car for a proper full test and review and see what this Kingbolen K8 is all about. I imagine this thing is going to be everything you will ever need in a scanner and more. I'm surprised it doesn't have a TV inside. Anyway, we'll get this set up. I'll cut back in. I'll show you exactly what you get on the main menus, and then, as I said, we'll get out to the car. We'll put it through its paces, see what it does, see what it doesn't do, and then we'll have a final conclusion back in the house, and I'll tell you whether I think you should buy one. We'll talk about the price, what this will do compared to the K7, which is its predecessor, and whether you should get one. All right, let's get this set up and then we'll cut back in. So here we are out in the Nissan. We have got a video coming on this car very soon. I'm pretty sure this video will go out before we actually discuss this new project, but we've got a Nissan here, a slightly more modern one at the moment, 2012, so I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to test out this Kingbolen K8 here. As you can see, just to give you a bit of a contrast, that is the passenger door and that is the unit down there in its little suitcase, so you can see the size of this. Anyway, we're going to get this out of here, plug in the Bluetooth module, and then hook it up on to the steering wheel, and we'll go through it. By the way, if you are wondering what those all those little sockets and connectors and adapters were that we showed you in the first part of this video, I'll talk to you about all of that when we go back in the house in a second. But for now, let's get this hooked up and see what it can do. So there's the little Bluetooth module dongle, as it were, sitting down there in the OBD2 port. We'll get the screen set up and have a little look at that. It's actually not going to be massively easy to get all of this into the picture, guys, because this unit is, as you know, huge. There it is sat on the steering wheel, and it also has, if I can just take this off ever so quickly, the thing I love most about these more expensive scanners, the little hook tool there, so you can sit it on a desk or indeed hang it over the steering wheel, which is ideal really when you're sitting in a car like this with a big old unit. This does weigh a fair amount, and you do need to be able to just use it without straining yourself, as it were. Right, let's get this switched on. While we just wait for this to fire into action, I'll talk to you about some of the specs that I found out since we last spoke, i.e. the unboxing, as it were. Now, this claims to cover 110 plus cars, including the VAG group as well. So if you've got a BMW, an Audi, a Volkswagen, anything like that, then this will apparently cover those. So you don't need to have a VAG computer system, as it were, because I'm sure that if you guys are watching this, you probably know sometimes you have to get a VAG program onto your PC to be able to actually talk to the car itself, as it were, to be able to get in and diagnose and do coding and all that kind of stuff. Apparently this will do that, and there is actually remote assistance, and there is a VAG guide, an on-screen guide. So when you go into that, if you're looking for something, you're not quite sure what you're supposed to do, there's an on-screen guide as well. Hopefully we'll be able to show you that in a second. So there's the main interface there. As you can see, we've got diagnostics, maintenance, TPMS, which is your tire pressure monitoring system, a quick check, which I'm assuming is the OBD2 function, and that's it. Maintenance, obviously, as we know, is basically for resetting service lights, etc. Intelligent diagnostics, that'll be a full health scan, I'm assuming. Coverage list, that tells you all of the cars it covers, I'm assuming. Modules, if you just want to check separate modules. There's the remote assistance I was talking to you about. If you find yourself getting into trouble, you've got a code that's come up and you're not quite sure what to do, you can press that. As long as you're on Wi-Fi, you will have remote assistance as well. I'm not sure how that's going to work if this company is based in China. I'm assuming they've got a UK office, otherwise that's going to be a little bit awkward. Now, the store there, obviously you can buy extended subscriptions, that kind of stuff. This does come with 24 months bi-directional subscription as standard. You can increase that obviously after 2 years if you wish to, but you get 2 years free updates on that anyway. There's your file system there for your previous scans and results and all that kind of stuff, and repair info. An upgrade, that obviously if there are any updates, I think it's probably a better word for that. Obviously you press that and you download those over Wi-Fi, and then there's your feedback if you want to send them any of that. That is the main Android 10 interface there for the Kingbolen K8, nicely laid out. Now when we talk about the maintenance up here, there are apparently 34 service resets on there. That's probably the most I've ever seen on one of these scanners from Kingbolen. I mean, there's not anything that this isn't going to be able to do for you, I guess, in that respect. 64 gigabytes of memory here as well, so it will store a lot, and as we saw in the beginning, there is an SD card for expanding that as well, I believe. 2 gigabytes of RAM, so more than enough there. An 8-inch high definition screen, as you can see there, lovely, and a 12,600 milliamp battery. So just as long as it's charged up to maximum, this should last you as long as you need it to, without charging, within reason, of course. But we've also got something else I'll show you inside, which will get you out of trouble if it does run out of battery. It's also got something called Auto Authority for FCA and SGW, which I believe is for things like Alfa Romeo and Fiat and that kind of stuff, where you again needed a specialist program to be able to get in there. I think that was called TuneCU. I'm not sure, don't judge me, but now this will do it as well, so you don't need two separate programs. I mean, if you've got something from a VAG group, an Italian like a Fiat or an Alfa Romeo, something like that, and you've got normal Japanese cars, this will do all of those. You don't have to have 3 separate machines, you just have this one machine and it'll do all of those, which I think is brilliant. Key coding, obviously you can reset the parking brake, there's all of that kind of good stuff as well. There's injector coding. There are also 12 different live data streams you can do. Now, every one of these I've seen you could do maximum of 4. With this one you can do 12 different live data streams to check everything that's going on with your car, and then I'll basically make some kind of diagnosis there. If you can see something, you should be able to spot anything that's wrong with 12 different live streams running all at the same time, which I think is awesome. There's also a built-in browser as well, so if you do get a P code come up, you can basically just sit in your car and look for it, and as I said, it will have remote assistance as well, or you can just use the Google browser, as it were, to find out what the code is and how you fix it. Anyway, let's get into the diagnostic. Now, So it's going to tell me basically to register now, log in, or start the free trial. So we will do the free trial. We are in a Nissan, so we will look for Nissan just down there. Blah de blah de blah. Okay, updates. We're not going to bother with that right now. We're just basically going to show you guys a quick demonstration of how this works, what it does, etc, etc. It should do an auto VIN because this is a 2012, so it shouldn't have any problems there. Okay, let's press that again. If this takes any time, guys, what I'll do is I'll cut it off and come back in. Okie dokie. So we're into the Nissan page. What I will do is stick the key into the ignition, fire that up, so obviously the ECU is live and active. All right, so basically we've decided to go straight into the system scan, as you can see straight up there as our first port of call, because I don't know very much about this car. As I said, we are doing a review on this car, and I don't know if there are any fault codes stored in here, any DTCs, anything like that. It is one of our project cars. So while this scans through the system, it's only at 5% at the moment. I won't keep you watching this. We'll basically cut back in when it's done and see what the results are. Okay, well, we're about 6 minutes into this health scan now. And the reason why it's taken so long is it's checking things generically because it wants to see if we've got cruise control, radar sensor, all that kind of good stuff, cameras, rear parking sensors. We haven't got any of that, so basically that's why it's gone through that, to just make sure that it knows that we don't have that. I'm not quite sure what the relevance is with that, but it's done the system scan and it's told me what's equipped and what's not, and there's your list. Not a huge amount. So let's get back into here and do a health report. Checking will take some time. Do you want to carry on? Yes, we do. And we will cut back in when this is around about 90%, guys, and see what it comes up with. I would be expecting to see some kind of DTC in here because this car has had a little shunt, and often it leaves a little kind of reminder on there, and the battery's probably gotten low at some point as well. So if we've got all green across the board, I'd be surprised that the BCM's got one little red flag on there. When we come back in, we will look into that and find out exactly what that is. So bear with me. We'll cut back in when we're around about 90%. As you can see, even the basic health scan is scanning for things to see if they're in there, and obviously they are grayed out if they're not. Intelligent key, auto side door, pre-crash seatbelts, laser radar, all that kind of stuff. We don't have that. That's why they're grayed out, obviously, and there's a little kind of exclamation mark over here. This is why this scan will take so much longer than a normal cheap, like 50 quid scanner, because it's looking for every single aspect that it thinks it might have in this car. The downside is it will take a little bit longer. The upside is that if your car is equipped with any of this will find it and tell you if there's an issue there as well. So it really does go very, very deep into the ECU. So from what I can see, guys, the smart scan and the health report are pretty much the same thing. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're both going through. I think the smart scan basically goes through all the modules it thinks might be in here and then tells you what you don't have, and at the end of it tells you what you do. The health report goes through the same kind of system, but at the end of it, it will tell you if you've got any faults within those systems. I think that's pretty much the only difference. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. We are at 100%. It's taken 6 minutes, and so far, from what I can see, we've got one problem, which is something to do with the CAN-COM circuit, the body control module. We'll see if we can get in there and see what that tells us. Read the fault code, CAN-COM circuit. Yeah, okay. Well, what you can do is do a code search. Now, that should probably take us to the browser. There we are. Okay. Well, we're not going to do that because I can't be buggered, basically, to get into there, because I can do that inside. So we'll just get rid of that for the minute. I mean, I'm not here to diagnose what's wrong with my car, per se. Could well be that the front headlight basically was smashed and I'll put a new one in and possibly need to code that in, or possibly need to just clear that code. So that's basically told me there's one diagnostic trouble code in here, which is actually good news. System selection, there you can go into all your different systems and just basically, if you thought you had a problem with your engine, you don't have to go through the whole health report or the system scan, as it were. You can just go straight into the engine. If you want to go into the BCM, the electrical, the brakes, anything like that, you can just basically pick which one you want, which saves you a lot of time. So that is that. If you were to go into the Nissan maintenance, basically you can manually reset the service there and you pick whichever car is yours. Now, I'm wondering, yeah, it does have ours in here. That's fine. I'm not sure if we need to do that. So again, I'm not going to do that. That is basically the, yeah, they always give you that little message. That is basically the diagnosis section of there. Let's get into the maintenance and see what that will show us. I mean, I think there are basically 38 different services you can do on here yourself. Obviously, you've got your oil, you've got your battery coding, you've got your ABS bleeding, you've got your tire pressure monitoring, the DPF, the AdBlue. I'm assuming, yeah, there's the EGR, there's the gear gearbox. You can code in, well, you can match keys. I think it's probably more better explanation than actually coding keys per se, because as long as you've got a key, you should in theory then be able to make yourself a new key, as it will. Obviously you've still got to get it cut, you ain't going to do that, but it will code the key for you. Coding injectors, knock sensors, seatbelt, stop, start, sunroof, suspension, windows, all that kind of good stuff. You can reset all of those in the maintenance function. I'm not sure what quick check is. I'm assuming, no, we don't want to do that. All right, well, for some reason, it wants us to log in to do that, and I haven't created the account yet. I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to have a look at the OBD functionality of any of the Kingbolen systems, then basically just go back through all my other videos. We did a huge video on the K7, the predecessor to this. That shows you exactly what the OBD2 functions do there as well. So, you know, OBD2 is OBD2. It's a very basic system that was set up from 1996 basically on onwards to do basic checks on your car. This kind of machine here, yeah, it'll do it. Obviously it's got the quick check just up here, but for me to have to set up a whole account to do that is kind of pointless. If you want to see how OBD2 works, you probably wouldn't be looking at the Kingbolen K8. This is far more advanced. This is for people who know about scanners and want something that will do everything. That is a basic quick check of what this will do and a quick explanation. We will pop inside now and close out the video, and I will give you my final thoughts. I will explain to you some of the connectors that we saw in the first part of this video, and I will give you my recommendations on this. Value-wise, should you buy one? Do you need one? All right, let's pop inside. I also forgot to mention, guys, that this does have a very unique little kind of portal on the back end of the scanner. Let me just flip this over and I'll show you exactly what I mean. As you can see, we've got this little kind of trap door here, which I failed to mention so far in the video. All you effectively have to do is turn these little spindles here. We'll get this out of the way and I'll cut back in. So once they're up as far as they can go, you effectively just lift this up and pull it out of the way. It's just a cover effectively there. But as you can see, that is a modular port for fitting all sorts of other things into this scanner. Now this will dock in with a printer, light video scope, which is an endoscope I suppose in that, or bore scope if you prefer, the scope box, the thermal imaging camera, the TPMS, and a battery tester. All of those things can be put into this modular kind of section of the rear of the scanner, which again I've never seen in any scanner. I think that's really innovative of Kingbolen to actually include that in the back of here. As I said, the door just effectively just slips on the back of there, you screw it on. If you wanted to add other modules to the Kingbolen K8, you don't have to then go out and get yourself a battery tester or thermal imaging camera or a bore scope or any of that kind of stuff, or even a printer. You can add those things by buying them from the Kingbolen site. You can add those to the rear of here. I'll put a little list in here, a little picture of everything that this will accept, as it were, into the modular section, just so you can have a little look at that. But I thought that'd be really interesting for me to explain to you guys that that does have that on the rear end. Okay, let's get back on with it. Okay, so we're back inside. That is the box it all comes in. Now, at the beginning of the video, we did talk about a lot of these connectors down here as well. As you can see, there are quite a few of them, and I was a bit confused about what they were all about, although I did spot something that looked like a BMW connector. Now, basically, what they include in this box here is every connector you will pretty much ever need. Now, from 1996 onwards, they basically universally started using OBD2. What you get in this box is for anything pre-1996. So basically, you've got an adapter connector for any car pre-1996 and onwards, so there's no kind of limitations in that respect. I've never seen a diagnostic scanner that goes pre-1996, so that is awesome. This little funky cable here is effectively what I was talking about in the car. If your scanner does start to run out of battery power, you can just get this connected to your car battery, plug it into the scanner and continue doing what you were doing. So that is useful, and again, I've never seen that in a scanner before. But all these connections here, there are a myriad of them, basically means that there should never be a car that you cannot connect this scanner up to. So that in itself means that you don't have to carry around copious amounts of scanners with you. You don't need to carry a laptop with VCDS on it. You can do all the VAG stuff. You can do all the FCA stuff, which means you can do all the Italian stuff as well, which means, again, you don't have to have a program on your laptop with you per se. I mean, my mechanic's got 3 different scanners in his truck because he needs 3 different scanners in case he's going to a car that one of the scanners won't do. This will do them all, as you can see there. Now, this is where you pay the premium, of course. These are roughly 600 quid, these scanners, and as I said, they will do everything. So if you want a scanner that literally will do everything, then the Kingbolen K8 may well be the choice for you. It just saves you having to cart around 2 or 3 scanners, maybe even a laptop with you for the VAG group stuff and the Italian stuff. As I said, this is all included and it will do pre-1996 stuff. I can't go into that too deeply because I don't have a pre-1996 car here. Not many of us do. But if if you're into restoring semi-classic cars, that kind of stuff, and you've got an issue that you need to resolve, as it were, this means that you can connect a very, very modern scanner to your very, very old car, which I think is awesome. Now, is it worth buying one of these? Do you need one? Well, as I said, they're around about 600 quid. It is a scanner in a suitcase, effectively, but again, it will do everything you need, so it could well pay for itself within a certain amount of time, of course. I mean, if you were going into business, per se, to do this kind of scanning stuff privately, you could be charging easily £40 for every scan that you perform for somebody. I mean, you go around their house, you say, right, okay, well, I'll come around and check out your car for you. My scanner does everything, which obviously the K8 does. You can charge them 40 quid. You do that 10, 20 times, this has paid for itself, let alone everything else it can do for you privately as well, of course. So yeah, I think if you were going to do this on a professional level, definitely the Kingbolen K8 is a must, I think, for most mobile mechanics. Even proper dedicated garage shop could really, really benefit from having one of these. Why spend £2,000, £3,000, £4,000 on a snap-on when you can buy the Kingbolen K8, which pretty much does everything you will ever need? I mean, if it doesn't do something, I would be bloody amazed. 110 plus cars, remote assistance, ECU coding, key coding. It's got every connector you'd ever need. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. So yeah, I think in that respect, I could highly recommend it. If you do not need a very, very high-end scanner, maybe consider the K7. I'll put a link in up here for the review we did on that, because that, again, is an amazing device, but a little bit cheaper. We'll also be reviewing the S600 as well, which is from Kingbolen, which is a great, great scanner. And we've done many, many, many other budget scanners on the channel. So if you want to have a look through that playlist as well, that's actually in a playlist called Diagnostic Scanners, I believe. Anyway, that is it for the Kingbolen K8. Highly recommended for semi-professionals and professionals alike. Possibly not so much for the amateur, because I don't think you're going to really, really need it. But if you want one, by all means, literally pop out and grab one. If there are any discount codes, I will put that in the description. And if this has been of any interest to you at all, then please consider subscribing, give the video a thumbs up, a like and a share. We'll have something coming out in the next couple of weeks. All right, from Budget Cars and Bikes, that has been the Kingbolen K8. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. Take care now. Thanks for watching.